It's literally investing into relationships. So outside of creating the database, now go spend time with these people, and not only spend time with them, but you have to be interested in them. Yeah. And you can't fake being interested. So that took a lot of just relationship building.
Welcome to the Justin Landis Show, your real estate podcast about having conversations, building relationships, and creating freedom. Today, I am here with April Williams, a top producing agent at the Justin Landis Group in Bolst. April, thanks for being here today.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to dig into your story. Tell everybody, during the pandemic, you decided to leave higher ed, get into real estate. Tell us how you decided to do that. How did you decide to make the move into real estate?
Yeah, honestly, I knew I wasn't the only one. I know a lot of folks made some really major decisions during the pandemic. I think we all got restless. We all got in our minds and tried to figure out what can we do different with our lives.
We're evaluating everything in life. I'm questioning everything I'm doing.
On everything.
Yes.
And so I loved education. I was there for almost 8.5 years, and I was running off a passion, and something hit me that I would probably never achieve true financial freedom if I stayed in this industry. And I was very close. I was getting ready to start my PhD program or go towards getting my PhD. And I didn't want any more degrees. I didn't want any more degrees. And I wanted to land somewhere where I'd have a little bit more freedom over my future, have able to scale if I wanted to, and just kind of wanted to take a little more charge.
And were those the things that attracted you to real estate? Were those the things that attracted you to real estate specifically?
It was the freedom. There's no ceiling when it comes to income.
Yep.
There's a lot of self-management and self-discipline that I was always attracted to. You get a little bit of that. I got lucky in education because I never had any micromanaging, but being able to just tap into my own skill set and apply it to an industry without anyone telling me yes or no or you're doing it wrong. That was really attractive to me.
Oh, and you've done it, and I'm looking forward to digging into this. But to keep on the story, you didn't just say, "Hey, I'm jumping right into this. I'm quitting one day. I'm doing real estate the next." Tell us about your planning to make the transition.
Yeah, well, I knew I was going to take a risk, and I was always comfortable with taking risks, but I knew I had to be as calculated as possible. And so it was over a summer when I realized I had to leave education, and it was very overwhelming because I didn't know that I could leave education without permission, and I didn't know I had to be the one to give myself permission. And so I finally did, but I knew it was going to take some planning as far as getting my license and also just financially making that leap because I'm no longer going to be dependent on a stable income.
Yeah.
And so I knew I had to plan accordingly, and so I started saving my money, and I was actually pretty close to start doing my own home search that summer. And so I had a conversation with my financial advisor, and she was like, "What are you going to do? Are you going to buy a house, or do you want to save for a new career?" And we saved for the new career.
Wow. And what did you have other fears to overcome other than financial to make the move into real estate? What were those other fears?
Imposter syndrome. Oh, that engulfed me. I was swimming in not knowing anything about real estate. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the process. I didn't know how to start a business. My degrees are all liberal arts degrees. I've never taken a business class in my life. And so the imposter syndrome was real. And so I was very mindful and intentional to align myself with people that would be able to support giving me those skills. I knew I had some transferable skills, but I was just very, very concerned that I don't know anything.
How'd you find the people that helped you through that?
My financial advisor knew Ben. And so she reached out and was like, "I have a client who's thinking about making a career change." And of course, we all know Ben.
Yeah, we had Ben on the we had just had Ben on the podcast. Yeah.
He has been amazing and supportive and has straightened me out during times where I needed to kind of gain clarity, and also just doing my research. I do pride myself in wanting to become great at stuff. And so I knew I wanted to align myself with a group of agents in the city that would be able to take my career to where I needed to go.
I think the connection with Ben, it's a good lesson for anyone listening of who you start with especially really matters because, you mentioned imposter syndrome. Other people have mentioned that on here before. There's the financial challenge of a 100% commission job. And so the people you're around really matter a lot when you first start out.
It's scary. It's absolutely scary. And I do feel like I got lucky because I have, outside of our team and outside of the brokerage, we meet agents out in the field and we co-op with them. And it's so great to see what I've gotten just surrounding myself with very particular professional agents who are good at what they're doing, because it shows in transactions. And a lot of folks have said I've had horror stories at this brokerage and moved here and did this. I'm like, I one and done. I found home and I have no intentions of going anywhere else. So I feel
I'm glad
very
you
lucky.
did. What was it like getting started? So you met Ben, you got started on the team. What was it like for you at the very beginning once you made that full jump into real estate?
Yeah, it was scary, exciting, running off of adrenaline. Didn't know where to begin. So I'm happy that there were resources and there was an actual process to get started.
Because you like a process.
I love a process. I'm very task oriented. I'm very like, give me the formula and I will continue perfecting the formula until, it serves me. And it's not to say that the formula is, and it's simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy. And so it was Jared who told me or asked me, like, how many people do I know in Atlanta? And that question's always going to sit with me because it was very...
What did you answer?
I don't know. And I actually was stumped. I was like, how many people do I know in Atlanta? I've been here for a while, but I never quantify. I'm very quality. I'm very English and history and liberal arts. So numbers, and I never really had the best relationship. And so when he asked me to quantify the people that I knew in Atlanta, it scared me. But that was one of the things. Oh, step one, get a database.
You realized that's what you realized from there. So how did you do that? Let's get into some of the details. Like, how did you go from how many people I know to I have a database and now I'm building it?
Jared said, put them all in a spreadsheet. And so I went through my cell phone. I went through social media, all platforms. I went through just even old emails from work and just started putting names down. I had some phone numbers. I had some emails, but my whole job was, okay, I have a name, but I need to fill out their contact information. So that's where I started. I started just creating that. And then as I was filling it in, I started reaching out and having those conversations about I'm an agent. And
what was that like?
Scary. Oh, and Ben makes you go through the
Did anybody scream at you or give you a restraining order or tell you you're a terrible person or anything like that?
No, but it's still scary.
I know it is scary.
I
know it. Yeah.
It's very scary, but what I do appreciate is the training here. The training, and Ben makes you go through the scripts with him.
Well, yeah, and Ben was talking about when you first started that were like, hey, I think I probably need to get some new photographs, some new wardrobes. I got to get this pretty marketing. And he was like, hey, I think you need to have these conversations. As you look back on that now, talk a little bit about what that was like.
I'm so embarrassed.
You should not be embarrassed. That should not be embarrassed about it.
When you're not in the industry and you zoom out, you almost think that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're on social media and you see these agents. You see, do I have to do a photo shoot? How do I present myself? You think it's marketing. And I remember Ben was kind of just like, chill out. You need to have it's a relationship business. Yeah. Nobody cares about a photo. Nobody cares. Social media is almost an afterthought to those who are really transacting, and it's literally investing into relationships. So outside of creating the database, now go spend time with these people, and not only spend time with them, but you have to be interested in them. Yeah. And you can't fake being interested. Yeah. So that took a lot of just relationship building. It was hard and tough, but he had to spin my mindset around and was like, no, you don't need a new headshot. Go build your relationships.
And you have built a lot of relationships, but this is something that I think is interesting, is you're an introvert. A lot of people who are extroverts are attracted to real estate. And so when you tell them hey, talk to a lot of people, their cup is being filled by talking to a lot of people, but you are and have been talking about how relationship driven you are. Yeah. But you're also an introvert. Tell us a little bit about what it's been like to grow your network and build those relationships, yet manage being an introvert.
It's very little by little, very brick by brick, very intentional with how I'm spending my time, because I am somebody who needs a lot of alone time in order to function. I really do. So it was a lot about time managing and picking a couple days out of the week where I'm going to be in person and meet people and have coffee. And I actually really do enjoy people.
Yeah.
It's just I get
You just
drained.
need your own time too. Yeah.
I get drained a little bit. And so I would spend time on phone calls on Mondays and Tuesdays. And I'm like, okay, towards the end of the week, it's time to get in person. And so a lot of it's just managing time.
Go through, the first time you told me your actual schedule, I was blown away. I was so impressed. And I was like, oh man, this makes so much sense. Break down, either what you've done in the past or what you're currently doing into some of the details of how you break up your week for somebody else who's an introvert that's listening. It's like, oh, I need the secret sauce here. Let's just give them the secret sauce of what you've done.
It took a while to perfect it because I went in, and as we all know, real estate, you are going to be working evenings and weekends.
Yep.
And so I was coming from a very traditional 9 to 5. 9 to 5, I'm done at a certain time. I'm off work. I have the weekends off. And so I experienced a lot of burnout because I realized, oh, there is no pause. There is no break. So how do I manage this to where I can still show up? Because I like to, I don't like to just be, I like to be able to pour and give to my clients.
Yep.
And so on a weekly basis, well, one of the first things I decided probably a year into the business was I don't show houses on Sundays. I do any open houses on Sundays, but I will write an offer. I will negotiate, and I will communicate. I need Sunday at home in my sweatpants to recharge, to start the entire week again. And then on Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm usually kind of tying up loose ends from the weekends, from Saturday touring or offer writing or whatever that I'm doing. And usually Mondays are my days where I speak to my sellers because sellers want to know how did their homes perform over the weekend. Did we get any activity? So I spend a lot of Mondays morning talking to my sellers. And so if I can kind of spend Monday and Tuesday at home and doing admin work and communicate, I'm able to get out in the field on Wednesdays and Thursdays to have coffee, to have lunch, and possibly a dinner with either past client, current client.
Yep.
Building relationship. I'm building in-person relationships on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Fridays, like a combination of maybe a coffee and a lunch, and then I need the rest of Friday to be really quiet because Saturday is typically all day of touring.
Saturday's game time.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit. I bet there's a lot of people listening that heard you say you are not going to show houses or do open houses on Sunday, and they're like, oh, she's going to lose so much business. There's no way she could do that. What has that been like in reality to set that boundary?
To be very honest, I hesitated in saying that. I almost thought, I was like, oh, should I have said that out loud? Is that, but I do want to give people permission. It was hard. I was nervous at first, and I thought I was going to upset folks and like, how dare you not be available? But anytime I've verbally put that boundary up, they're like, oh, okay, talk to you Monday.
Do you let clients know that up front when you first start working with them?
I do, during the buyer's consultation. Yeah, but it's just, I'm always available to communicate.
Yeah.
I'm always going to communicate on a Sunday, and I will always, negotiate or write an offer, go through an inspection report, but I'm not going to tour on a Sunday.
Yeah, and it's helped you be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Which is better for the clients.
Yeah. So
Tell us a little bit about, in addition to this schedule, you have been very intentional to grow your network and grow your database, and that has paid off in absolute spades. Tell us a little bit more about those Wednesdays and Thursdays, what you've done to be intentional to grow that database and grow your network.
Yeah. So when I was in education, my last role, I worked with a lot of MBA students, and I was the one on their back about getting out and networking. You have to get out and network. You're about to wrap up your degree. Like, who do you know at these companies? You're telling me you want to work for this company. I'm like, who do you know? And if they don't give me a name, I'm like, how do you want to work for this major company? You don't know anybody there. And so I always spoke to the art of networking. And then when I got here, I was like, oh, yeah, let me go out and practice what I've been preaching all these years to the MBA students. And so since I'm so introverted, if I'm going to get out of the house, I make it a point to connect with somebody. I can't waste that time. So I like to meet new people. And so like on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I would do a coffee, I'll do a lunch, and then maybe like a post-lunch caffeine-free, like get together, maybe a dinner.
Yep.
And I will say, because I am introverted, I am well aware that my business might be growing at a different pace than an extrovert who can probably claim more people in a day. But I sometimes I like to get to know people. So like sometimes my coffees can be an hour, hour and a half. My lunch might be 2 hours, but I am trying to get to know this person. So it's been more of a building a quality relationship over time, and it has paid off.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and your consistency, the consistency of it is powerful in itself because you mentioned like, hey, maybe an extrovert can pack more in or do whatever, but you can also do that very inconsistently and then not have good follow-up systems and not stay in relationship. And you just like did a lot of things that were not very effective.
Yeah.
What you're doing is very intentional, thus has been very effective.
Yeah. And the thing is, you actually got to listen. You got to pay attention to what's going on in their lives. So as much as I'm present, I'm taking notes about the important things that's happening. And I make mental notes. And I used to think I can hold it all up here. But now I just go to my phone and in their contact, I might make a note, add to my spreadsheet, like, hey, they have a kid's such and such birthday's coming up. And I just remember to like follow up.
Because you have a system.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm also just very interested in your life. So if you tell me, hey, your in-laws coming into town in 2 weeks, I might put it on my calendar. It's like, have fun with the in-laws, you
Yeah.
know?
I love it. And so we've talked a lot about the success you've had with systems and structure and like, kind of getting yourself in control of your week. But you have only been a real estate agent in a market that has been volatile to say the least. I mean, like, you just come in and there's the COVID market, there's the offers, then the rates go up, and then, houses are sitting. How has it been for you to navigate just in in your career, all the changes that have happened in the market?
Well, I will say because of my entry point, even though I don't know if there really is such thing as a normal market, I don't know what a normal market is, so I have nothing to compare.
Normal is changing?
So every year, it's like, okay, so what are we going to be facing this year and having to just adapt? I mean, I remember when the whole world freaked out when interest rates jumped up.
Oh, yeah.
Having to practice those conversations. And so I don't know anything other than just whatever we're facing. Again, I'm on a team who's outperforming the market. So it's like, it can be challenging and you can be concerned, but I know we have resources. I know we have the conversations and I know we have the relationships. And so if I'm able to be successful in a wonky market, imagine if it gets somewhat normal.
Mm-hmm. So the market's changed and your business has changed. How has it changed over the last couple of years? Do you kind of like look back and reflect, over the last couple of years? How has your business changed?
I will say my business has changed in the sense I am getting more referrals. I have become more confident on both sides of the transactions. I love my buyers. I like working with my sellers. I feel like my systems are a lot sturdier than when I first started. Overall, just growth. Every single year I've been in the business, I've had growth. And that's always going to be my goal, outperform my last year self. So,
what do you think are the biggest things that have led to that growth? For someone listening and they're like, I want to have growth every year. Yeah. Like, what advice would you give them to continue? Because I think, at the beginning, you're growing from, I sold 0 houses last year. And so there's growth there. But once you start to have success, it's not easy to keep growing. What would you say as far as like the continual growth has been the most helpful for you?
Yeah. I think what they say, it's easy to enter the industry, but it's hard to stay in and it's hard to, it's consistency. It's discipline. It's sometimes you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and doing a lot of stuff and you're waiting for the results and it does come. I do believe in there's a difference between motion and movement.
Tell us more.
I think we can, as agents, we can find ourselves in a lot of motion. There's a lot of things to always do that we can be doing. Let me perfect my Instagram post. Let me send this email. Just whatever it is. There's a lot of motion and we can get caught up in that. And it's just when you have conversations with teammates or even with Ben, it's just well, what did you do that created movement? So it's just it is those phone calls. And we can distract ourselves all day, every day and say, well, I did A, B, C, and D, but you try to push away the phone calls. And the phone calls, it's what's going to create movement in your business. And so being able to rip that Band-Aid off first thing in the morning and just say, let's do what's going to help my business actually move instead of busy work.
Is that how you structure your day? You do your calls first?
I do. Get them out the way. I send text messages, phone calls, and because I'm a few years in, but it's still, sometimes you get a little that's the only thing that really helps your business grow is the phone calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if that fear ever goes away, even though you know that what you're doing is going to work. And maybe that's a little bit of what motivates us, is, to make sure that, we're keeping our foot down and doing this stuff. Because I've just seen it over and over. If you have those phone calls, you have those in-person meetings, you do them over and over. And like you said, you're listening to people. Yeah. You're doing a great job. You're taking care of them. That's what builds a sustainable real estate career.
Yeah, the trust.
Yep.
The trust that's there.
It's funny, trust has come up in almost every one of these podcasts. It always comes up. I always mention hey, this is the number one thing that buyers and sellers want, from their real estate agent is trust. But it's a common thread among great agents is, you're developing trust with your clients. Yeah. And that's what helps them come back and refer to that sustainable business.
Absolutely. You want to make them feel cared for and safe and that you're there, even if they don't need the transaction, they're going to send a referral to you, but even afterwards, I had a client who closed last month, Patrick, the sweetest, and I remember we were doing the final walkthrough right before we were closing. He really thought this was it for us. And I could tell, I was like,
I'll
no.
see you in 7 years.
And I was like, oh no, Patrick, you're not going to be able to get rid of me. Like, I need, it's like doing a post-op. I need to know, how is the house treating you? What's going on? What have you done with the yard? And so I was like, this is a lifelong relationship, Patrick. He was like, oh, yay. He's like, I thought you were going to just disappear on me. No.
I love it. Well, man, April, I'm so impressed with your success. It's been so cool to see and walk alongside you with that. And thanks for coming today and sharing your story. I think especially any introverted real estate agents are going to just really be encouraged by your story today that they can do it and they can follow in your footsteps.
It's possible.
Hey, this is Justin with the market update. The current market is unlike any market we have seen recently. And so if your brokerage is running a playbook that is old, that's from pre-COVID, you need to get a playbook that is up to date, that is adaptable to the current market. I'd love for you to book a mentor call so we can help walk you through a playbook that works in this market. Back to the podcast. If you were going to kind of summarize somebody making a big career transition, what do you think they should do to get their house in order to make that transition as successful as possible?
Great question, because it takes a few steps and it takes a few. I would say one of the first things is financially, it's going to be a situation, because you can't just career switch without feeling like you got a nice cushion, especially if you're going to go into an industry where you're no longer going to be paid on a monthly, biweekly, weekly situation. So having a great conversation with anyone who's managing your finances. I would say start having conversations with the people who are in the industry you want to get into. I think that's very important. Start having and building those relationships. I did a lot of books, reading just books about career changing, books about real estate. And it's going to feel so uncomfortable, and you're going to run into a lot of people who are going to question your decision, mostly your friends, mostly your family. And it's a matter of moving forward despite their opinions and growing that self-confidence. And that ability to just learn and doing it regardless, because you're going to have a lot of opinions while people are trying to career change.
Man, I think that's some great advice.
Yeah.
So when you got started and you started going through that database, tell us about some of your first clients.
So I was pleasantly surprised that I think it was Ben. Again, always right. I think you move in, you want everyone in your life to be so happy that you're starting a new career, so you think your friends and your family members going to be the first ones to come buy your new product or be your clients. And they're actually the ones standing on the sidelines because they're petrified. They're so scared for you. And so my first clients ended up being folks that I used to work with, my former colleagues.
Wow.
Because they already knew my work ethic. So they didn't question whether or not I was capable. Whereas your friends and your family, they don't really see you at work. They know you as just a friend or your sister or your mom, you know what it is? And so they don't really know. I know I'm a completely different person. I'm one of my sister. So they've never seen me in professional mode.
Yep.
But my colleagues were very confident that I can handle their transactions, and they become one of my first clients.
Man, that is cool. Yeah, because they'd already seen that you do a great work product, and they already have that trust in there with you. What did it take to go from there to start to, win over those friends and family members further down the line?
I had to prove myself. I had to prove myself to my friends and family. Like, look, I'm actually transacting. And they're like, oh, yeah, we knew you could. We knew you could. And they crept in slowly and stuff. And so, it was just a matter of, they were scared out of love. But, I can't, their projection of fear, you have to move through it.
Awesome. Thanks for listening to April's story today. Make sure you like or subscribe, and we will see you again next week.